Well, welcome to another edition of the Waldom Executive Series. I'm Owen Stifler, and today I'm joined by Walter Tobin, the CEO of ERA. Thanks for joining me, Walter.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's a real privilege to be interviewed. Thank you very much.
Well, I know it's been a busy week. Obviously, we just wrapped up the ERA conference, so I appreciate you making time after such a busy week.
My pleasure.
So as CEO of ERA, what's your personal vision of the organization, and how does that align with the evolving needs of the industry that you serve?
Well, it's a great question. The vision that I have as the CEO of ERA is to continue to unite and align the manufacturers' reps. ERA used to be exclusively a rep association. Mm-hmm. And then we've expanded membership to include manufacturers. Without manufacturers, the reps have nothing to sell. And then about 10 years ago, we invited distributors to join to continue that three legs of the stool. Mm-hmm. The manufacturer, the rep, and the distributor all working together, three of them, to go support the customer, go sell to the customer. It's a pretty easy model, but yet sometimes it's difficult to do in the day-to-day hand-to-hand combat. Mm-hmm. So the vision that we have, my personal vision, is to continue that advocacy. Reps have other lines, other manufacturers. Distributors have other manufacturers. So when the rep and the distributor are in calling on the customer, you've got to make sure that they agree to be aligned on, let's say, AVX, that they're in there to sell AVX, even though the rep may have a competing line or the distributor's on the line. So sometimes it's hard to do, but that's what we're going to continue to do, is to continue to advocate, bringing those three legs of the stool together. Mm-hmm. And that's the vision that I have for ERA.
Okay, and with the emerging needs or trends that are currently happening, what are you seeing in global electronics, the components industry, and what is it that you think your members of ERA and just businesses in the industry need to be aware of within?
Sure. Well, so the manufacturers are continuing to consolidate. The consolidation of manufacturers will continue to happen. That affects not only the manufacturers' reps, but it affects the distribution channel. As manufacturer A buys manufacturer B, there can be some churnage, there can be some fallout. So I think you'll see continued consolidation of manufacturers. You'll also see the expansion of the reps. Reps continue to expand their line card. Some of them are deciding to expand geographically, and other ones are deciding to stay in their own sandbox, but yet acquire complementary reps inside that organization to make themselves even more valuable to the original territory that they're in. So expansion of the reps, globalization of the manufacturers, but also globalization of reps. We've seen a lot of interest in Europe and in Asia about the North American rep model. It's a non-stocking rep model here in North America, and in Europe especially, they're stocking reps, which means they're distributors. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of interest in the North American model. So some of the reps are now beginning to plant flags in Europe. Right. And some of the European manufacturers are putting on distributors here in the Americas. So that will continue to happen. Supply chain weaknesses will continue to be a part of our industry. It's been like that since I've been in the industry. It's either a buyer's market or a seller's market, but supply chain weaknesses will continue to challenge all of us. Mm-hmm. Right now we're working through an era of excess inventory. So with too much inventory, there's a lot of pressure on the channel, a lot of pressure on the manufacturers, and we need to try to smooth out the supply chain. And then certainly, I think that the return on investment that the reps make and distributors make, there'll be continued pressure on gross profit. Margins will continue to pressure both the reps and the distributors. So those are some of the trends that we'll continue to see. It will continue to be a tough business to be in for reps and distributors, but yet we've been dealing with these issues for the last 30, 40 years, and we continue to not only survive, but thrive.
Right, and I mean, that's some of the purpose of this conference, is just getting together and helping each other out.
Right, sharing common problems, sharing what we need from each other, and not fight each other. Mm-hmm. The supply chain kind of collapsed because everybody in the supply chain the person to your left or your right, everybody's trying to take margin out of the other person's pocket. If you let everybody to your left or right make a little bit more profit, there will be money available to have more inventory in the supply chain, so we don't have happen what happened when the pandemic hit and there was no inventory in the supply chain. Once the distributors burned off the inventory, that's when the whole thing kind of collapsed.
Right.
So we need to have more cooperation among the reps, the distributors, and the manufacturers, and frankly from the customers, to let people make a little bit more profit, let the manufacturers let the distributors make a little bit more profit, so that we can fund people and resources and inventory in the supply chain.
Right. And what about, can you share some perspective on how environmental regulations, as those are emerging and becoming more and more
Sure.
popular, I guess we should say, how is that shaping manufacturing and the distribution of electronics?
Well, as you know, about a year and a half ago, the ESG initiative came out, which is environmental, social, and governance. It's a little bit like what happened with ISO 9000 about 15 years ago in the industry. And the ESG initiatives are important because the environmental certainly revolves around what we're doing to the environment worldwide. I think it really, the Waldom value proposition dovetails nicely into that with their environment, with the impact they have on the environment, keeping product out of landfills. But I think you'll see continued adoption of ESG initiatives. We also have, the whole precious minerals challenge that people have. There's a lot of precious minerals that are used to make a lot of the electronic components. And if we run out, we begin to see, particularly China is now, going into Africa trying to mine precious minerals, and the people that control that, can kind of control the world.
Right.
And then, certainly you have some of the blood minerals that people talked about years ago with, people utilizing almost slave labor, getting minerals out of the ground, diamonds and all that, blood diamonds they call it. So there'll be continued emphasis on human rights initiatives and environmental issues, and that will continue to, I think, to expand globally.
Especially within this industry.
Right, exactly.
So how is ERA helping its members adapt to the increasing demand for electronic components in new markets, such as electronic vehicles and renewable energy technologies? What has been kind of your guys' focus area along those lines?
The whole EV vehicle, it's kind of it's evolving every day. You look at what Tesla does, you look at what some of the other automotive manufacturers do. There needs to be a lot of standardization. There's no standardization in the charging unit, the plug that the charger go into the cars. A lot of them have different configurations. They need to standardize that. There's a charging station issue, and that you may have a Tesla that has the right charging station, but if you have another EV, you got to go hunt and peck for a charging station. The electronics industry, in many cases, a lot of our members don't sell to the Teslas or don't sell to the automotive, but they sell to those sub-markets or people that make stuff that sell to people who then sell to the automotive industry. So it's sort of a secondary or tertiary effect on what our members do. And there's also the area of supply chain and how do we fit, and the whole area of renewable energy. It's all kind of up in the air, to be very honest with you. There needs to be a lot of standardization. There needs to be some governmental governance, if you will, without interfering, to try to standardize a lot of that thing. But it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
We try to help our members, but in many cases, our members don't sell directly to the people that are making this. We sell, again, up the supply chain. We sell to someone who sells to someone who then sells to the automobile manufacturer. So it really needs to be standardized.
Yeah, kind of feels a bit like the Wild West at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah. How can distributors enhance their value proposition to manufacturers in this current landscape? Well,
the distributors, the value that they bring is inventory. And so they need to provide inventory on the off the shelf. Distribution has become a $100 billion industry worldwide, and why is that? Because they provide unforecasted product inside a manufacturer's lead time. So in a perfect world, if customer forecasts an item and they need it in 12 weeks, AVX capacitor says, well, we can make them in 12 weeks, so the customer would place everything direct with AVX.
Yeah.
Perfect world. They wouldn't need distribution. But what happens is the customer has some unforecasted demand. They need product. They want to get product in 6 weeks. And the manufacturer says, hey, it takes 12 weeks to make these products, so they need to go to distribution. So distribution provides sort of a relief valve for the unforecasted demand inside manufacturer's lead time. They need to provide inventory. They need to buy inventory to have the inventory on the shelf to provide that relief valve for the manufacturer. The manufacturer needs to provide some acceptable gross profit level to allow the manufacturer, to enable the distributor to invest in inventory. So they need to continue to do that. Distribution is also sort of the canary in the coal mine. They're sort of an early indicator of what's going to happen. Distribution sells to, hundreds of thousands of customers. So they'll begin to see an uptick or a downtick in lead time or in demand, and they can provide that signal to the manufacturers. In many cases, they light up the target. The distribution does a great job in demand creation, in engineering design wins, but they need to be able to light up the target to bring the manufacturer in if they need some assistance in closing the deal. Distribution is really providing sort of an early warning indicator, but the big thing that they provide is inventory on the shelf, and they also provide either discounted or extended payment terms to the customers that they couldn't meet the contractual obligations of selling or buying direct from manufacturer. Usually net 30 days. Usually there's a high minimum PO. There's usually a low window to cancel, a very low window or a high window to reschedule. So that's why they rely on distribution for flexibility of the supply chain. So that's really the value that the distributors bring to the manufacturer.
Right.
Provide that relief.
Yeah, I know Waldom, like you mentioned, MOQs and things like that, that's something that distributors can assist with.
Exactly.
Can you discuss a little bit the new educational or support programs that ERA is developing to help members as they move ahead and stay in this industry?
Sure. Well, we just finished 2 days here in Austin at our conference, providing some 15 breakout sessions, all here to educate our members. It's an educational conference. So we had topics like everybody talks about AI. We had 2 different sessions on AI. We had sessions on selling to how the customers are changing, how the reps are changing, succession planning. We had a whole session on trying to find and hire and retain what we call early career people. So those are the tools that we provide. We also run a sales training for electronics professionals, our STEP training every year, that we provide training, not only just for the newer people, but for the people that are more senior. We provide AI tools. We have an AI tool at ERA, ERASearchLink.ai, that Sam Richter developed exclusively for us. And these are tools that are available to our members to utilize to help them sort of skate where the puck is going, making sure they're ahead of the curve. Because we tell our members, the world is changing fast. Not only did we change during the pandemic, but the customers changed. And that's something that we sometimes lose sight of. The customers may not want to see you or I coming in every Tuesday to talk about supply chain or everything. They might want to see us come in once a month because they get used to doing things virtually. So the customers have changed, and we have to adapt to what they want to do, not the way we want to sell. And then certainly, the reliance that we have on our manufacturers to develop new technology and making sure that we're delivering that technology to the customers to allow our customers to stay ahead of their competition. They rely on distribution to tell them the latest technology, the new part number, what the roadmap is, and also say if something's been end of life, they're not recommended for new design, to keep their bill of materials current. That's a big tool that we provide, distribution provides to the distributors, and really helps educate not only our people, but educate the customers. So that it's a valuable service that the distributors provide, the reps provide, that a lot of people really forget about.
Yeah. And going back to the conference, I'm new to the industry, but I know, new or old, the past 2 days just have been, these sessions have been incredible.
Yeah,
the amount of information that's packed into that.
Thank you.
It's definitely helped me out a lot.
Right, thank you.
So what are some of the biggest challenges you foresee for the electronics components industry and how is ERA preparing its members for these challenges?
Well, some of the challenges we faced for the last 30 or 40 years, but we continue to face them. So first of all, the margins that we make are continuing to fall. So, the margins today are probably half what they were 10, 15 years ago. So falling margins will continue to be a challenge for the manufacturers, reps, and for the distributors. How can you continue to invest in people, hire new people, develop, the next generation of people if the margins that you're making that are being cut from the manufacturer, but also there's a lot of margin pressure coming from the customer. So we need kind of relief on both ends of this spectrum. Customers need to let us make just a few more pennies of profit so we can continue to hire people and support them. And the manufacturers need to let the distributors make a few more pennies of profit so we can continue to fund the services that we provide to the customer. As I talked about, the challenge of consolidation will continue to be a challenge. The big challenge that sometimes we face is the pressure from Wall Street. If you're a publicly traded company, whether you're a distributor or manufacturer, Wall Street wants to see continued return on working capital improvement, earnings per share improvement. How do you do that when you've got margin pressure coming from both ends of the spectrum? So we need a little relief from Wall Street. We've seen a lot of manufacturers trying to reshore manufacturing here in North America to onshore, bring manufacturing back from Asia. Most Wall Street financial people don't like to see precious working capital tied up in real estate. To build new factories, they certainly don't like to see it tied up in inventory. So if you get the publicly traded distributors, they're really under pressure from Wall Street to reduce inventory and look at their DSOs from accounts receivable. How do you then justify to Wall Street, I'm going to take $20, $30 billion and invest it in opening a plant in Ohio or a plant in Phoenix, but yet that's what we need to do. We need to bring a lot of the manufacturing back to North America.
Right.
So we need some relief from Wall Street. The whole area of digital marketing, a lot of the manufacturers are now relying on the distributors and the reps to do a lot of the marketing for them. Rather than in the old days, the distributors would really rely on the manufacturers. Hey, we need more leads, give us more leads. The rep, give us more leads. Now the manufacturer's saying, hey, distributors, you need to furnish leads up to us. Reps, you need to furnish leads up to us. How do the rep and distributors continue to invest in digital marketing people, especially with some of the AI tools, when the margins continue to be under siege? So it's a big problem. Certainly we spent a lot of time talking about artificial intelligence today. How do you use that to make your company more efficient, more profitable, and yet continue to deliver the services that you need to allow your company to skate where the puck is going, but also your customers, enable them to keep ahead of their competition. And I think the continued globalization, the world is so much smaller now, and what we do here in North America or in the Americas impacts Europe, impacts Asia. So all of that, you can't just have three silos, if you will. We're a global economy, global company. Some companies say they're global. They're really not. They're just everywhere. They have three different silos of P&Ls. So we need to really allow companies to be truly global. So some of the challenges that we face, but they're not new. But we continue to sort of slay the dragon one at a time.
Find new ways to address them and just keep on fighting that battle.
Exactly.
And finally, given Waldom's position as a master distributor in this industry, how do you see our role and impact evolving in the context of the current trends of the industry and those challenges that you just talked about?
So Waldom, based on some of the things you just talked about, Waldom is playing a very key role. The key role of helping smooth out the ebbs and flows of supply and demand. If the distributor has bought too much and they're over their returns privileges with the manufacturer, the Waldom provides that relief valve, if you will, so the inventory doesn't get thrown out or the inventory gets returned. It stays in the channel, and when it's sold, as you know, there's a benefit to the manufacturer, certainly a benefit to the distributor in get the inventory off the shelf. Certainly there's a big benefit in environmental, as we talked about earlier, keeping the product out of landfill. But also the role that Waldom plays is to keep that that good inventory out of the what we call the gray market. You know, sometimes if you get pieces that you're really 100 pieces of something that's really good that comes from a franchise distributor, some of the bad guys in our industry can blend that with some other inventory, and there's a danger of counterfeit.
Right.
So Waldom was playing a very key role in sort of adjusting the ebbs and flows of the supply chain, of the demand, and to provide a relief valve, and then also certainly to develop direct relationships. I know that Waldom has been very aggressive in signing up direct franchises with manufacturers. So Waldom is playing a very key role, and they only buy and sell from the other distributors. So you know, they're not selling direct to the customer. So it really has become a strong partnership that Waldom is playing with the other franchise channels, and it's really a very creative role, and really long overdue. Long overdue.
Yeah, well, you know, so much competition, and I mean not competition, but so many different players in this industry. It's nice to carve out a role and help where we can.
And I think that, you know, certainly, you know, Waldom's been around a long time. Master has been around a long time. You know, certainly having you know, Don coming in as the CEO, he's well grounded in distribution, having worked at, you know, several of the major distributors, brings an awful lot of credibility to the Waldom model. And certainly being, you know, affiliated with Master Electronics, Master has been very innovative and very creative in their role in distribution. So it really has been a wonderful model, and certainly with Don taking over as CEO, it really has, you know, continued to evolve the role and really to have a more a clearer message on Waldom's role in the industry since Don Acree has taken over as CEO. So it really has been it's been wonderful to see how Waldom has evolved and the role that they really play, and clarifying that role in the supply chain. So kudos to Waldom for providing a real necessary service to not only the other distributors but to the customer and the manufacturers.
Yeah. Well, Walter, I know you're a busy man, especially this week particularly, so thank you for making the time for us.
My pleasure.
We hope to see and talk to you soon.
Continued success with Waldom, and I'm really pleased to be invited to be on this interview. So thank you very much.
Thank you.